I'm John Potter, and today we're going to talk about one of the large exhibits here at the Tavern Museum, a cantilevered barn frame loom. Mr. McDowell, who lived up in Odessa, was the gentleman. He knew that it had some value and had asked us if we were interested in it. We go up with our pickup trucks and it's all knocked down. This is a separate piece, and the uprights are separate, and the cross pieces are separate, and the heavy beams are separate. They're all piled in one area of the barn on a dirt floor, and they've been there for a long time. We bring it in. If you can imagine this with pigeon dew on it. Also motor oil, dust. At some point they had cows, and there was all sorts of debris that had to be cleaned off of it. And that took probably about a year for us to clean and to recognize what we had, because there are no instructions that come with these. So we have to figure out how it would go together. Each one of these barn frame looms are unique. They'll have a little different twist in the construction of it, but generally they're going to work very similarly in raising the threads so that you can put the shuttle through and create a fabric. So this was in 2004 that we claimed it, that we accepted it into the collection here, and it took about a year, 2005, for us to clean it and then learn that there were some pieces that were missing that we had to have fabricated so that we could actually demonstrate on this. It's now been set up for close to 20 years here. This particular type of a loom was commonly used in the late 1700s up through the beginning of the 20th century, usually on rural farms. They say cantilevered because it hangs over, and barn frame because of the timbers that were used for constructing these. It looks probably like just a tangle of wood and threads until I show you what is happening. We have a number of items that are called beams. This is a warp beam, and on that are placed the warp threads. That's what this is here. And that corresponds to the long threads in this particular weaving, and I think you can see them going here. So those white threads there are equivalent previous to these brown threads here. And it's wrapped and kept very close attention that they don't get tangled onto the warped beam. But these mechanisms are known to be harnesses, and they have a string. This is how they were first done, that has a knot 1 inch where each one of these threads are threaded through it, and it allows us to raise the threads in just like that. These are called heddles, and they're what is used for raising and lowering differentially the warp threads so that you can build your fabric. What we are weaving on this setup right here are cable runners, and if we terminate it soon enough, they are placemats. And most everything is done with rags. It has multiple adjustments, back and forth for tightness, length here. Another piece here which is called the reed, and it's actually set into this beam and this top beam, and it's a separate piece, and through that is threaded the warp threads using a sleigh. That's what this thing is called, just like this, and you go to the back and you pull it through. And we're not actually going to be able to do that because it's already been done, but it was quite intricate work to be able to set up something like that. And this is the weft. It's the fabric that goes crossways in the weaving. Let me show you how this machine will work as it is currently set up. I have my feet here on treadles. They're called treadles, and they're actually levers that are attached to harnesses, and these are the harnesses. We're going to bring this in through it's actually called the shed, or I call them the tent, and that brings the weft fabric across, and we'll pull it through as much as we dare. And then once we have that, we're also pretty mindful not to be making our warp threads all twisted, and so we have it in place like that, and we're going to pull it, and then we're going to lock it in place by using the other treadle, my foot, and now we've created one more line to our weaving. Now I'll send it through the other way, make sure that we have it good and tight, and if I had a little bit longer shuttle, it would be a little easier, but the next size up is too big, and we're needing to find one that's the appropriate size for this, and I suspect that's why this is taking so long. And we have it in place, and now we're going to pull it tight, and you can see when you put the pressure onto your weaving, it will cause the machine to rattle and to shake, and that's how you know that you are actually getting some tension between the weft threads. And then we lock it in place with our feet, and that holds that last weft. We can go back through again. Try to keep my hands out of the way so that you can actually see. Now this would go a lot faster with an experienced weaver, and with of course, the right equipment. We make do with what we have in our collections, and so we have that. We're pulling it tight again. We're going to lock it in place with the other treadle, and that causes a crisscross of the threads that hold the previous warp and the weft in place. Generally speaking, once it was set up, the weaver would want to continue with what he or she was doing until they ran out of thread, because it's quite involved to set this up to keep all of these threads from becoming all a tangled mess of one another.